Hello everyone. I'm going to make a short video here on some of the new features of the breadboard that we've added in 3.9.0. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the variable reader and writer. So we've added a reader and a writer, and we can read and write any type of variable that the breadboard supports, which is numbers with floating points, integers, vectors, quaternions, which are rotations, and text. So we are reading the position, and we'll read it in the Unity engine coordinates. We are writing it to a variable called myVariable, and we are going to then read it from myVariable and display it. Now we can do that on this breadboard. And let's see if I copy that, paste that with Control C, Control V. I'm going to remove the writer from here. So we're just reading, and we can see it's reading from the other breadboard. Now we can read and write into different data banks, and this is the data bank selector. So here we are reading or writing into the vehicle wide database. If I start writing into just the breadboard wide one, then we will no longer get updates on this one because it's in a different breadboard. This number here is the actual identifier of the data bank, and we can write into a fleet wide one. And when we write into the fleet wide one, we're no longer going to be able to read new data from here. We're going to have to move that into fleet wide as well. And we can also read and write for everyone, which is everyone on any team, which is data bank 0. So quite limited use for writing data that the enemy can read. Also because your enemy can overwrite your data if they know what your variable is called. And we have a team-wide one as well, where you can write data that all the breadboards on your team can see. And this one is shared between your mothership and your drones. Now, if I am not actually a mothership, I can still read and write into this because the mothership and drone group is the same as the vehicle group when I am the mothership. So if I was a drone, then vehicle and mothership group would be different. But as I am not a drone, they're going to be the same. The other thing it's very useful to know is if I take a time component and I put frame number out and I write frame number into the second input, I am writing into an array. Now that's writing into frame, well, array number 12,000 and something, a different frame number each time. But let's add an input on there, and we're going to read from there. Now, it starts to clash occasionally there and say that that data doesn't exist because this breadboard may not necessarily be writing this frame before it reads this frame. So I'm going to put a lag of 1 frame on there. Now this allows me to write a whole history of data. So I could put a lag of many frames, or if I want, this is just basically the usefulness here is when you're not entirely sure that you're going to write it before you read it, so you put a lag of 1. But if I wanted to read data with a considerable lag, maybe for the purpose of differencing data, although we do have a differencing block, I could put that in there like that. And let's see, make that into an integer of -100. So we're reading data that's 100 frames old, or about 2.5 seconds old, something like that. So our current position and the position we're reading will be with a lag. This is also useful if you were a mothership and you have many drones, you could write into a variable called, let's edit the variable name to position. Now we're not going to be able to read anything from position right now because position has never been written to. So let's edit the variable name to position. Now we're writing into position, and let's not write into there. Let's write into a constant value of position of 0, or let's say 2, something like that. So we write into position 2, and we read from position 2. We remove our lag because we don't want a lag in position, because we might end up reading position written that's written on the last frame, but that's life. And then if we want to write data for a different drone number 1, for example, well, we change integer to 1, and now we're writing data that a different drone could read. The other thing here is that we don't have to remember the variable names. We can use this drop-down menu to update our variable name. So hopefully that shows you some of the ways you can use the variable reader and variable writer.